will soon pick up the de Havilland Vampire, a British jet fighter developed and manufactured by the de Havilland Aircraft Company, holding the distinction of being the second jet fighter to be operated by the Royal Air Force. That was the Gloucester Meteor, and the first to be powered by a single jet engine from the Norwegian historical Air Force Squadron, Havilland, in this particular Vampire, an FB.52. Work on this particular aircraft commenced very early in the Second World War in 1941. Initially intended as an experimental aircraft, but one that would be suitable for combat and harnessed extraordinary innovation and the development, of course, of jet propulsion. Having settled on this distinctive twin-boom design, powered by a Halford H1 turbojet, produced in quantity known as the Goblin, a relatively conventional aircraft in other ways. It took until 1944, however, for the Royal Air Force to consider it as an interceptor. It went into mass production, with the first one entering service in 1946. Total of 3,268 were actually built, and they served from that day, 1946, across much of the world, eventually being retired by the Norwegian Air Force in 1979. It was, however, retired by the Royal Air Force in 1966, having been withdrawn from what would have been his very final role as an advanced trainer, to be replaced by the equally famous Havilland Nat. The Royal Navy had meanwhile also developed this type as the Sea Vampire for operation off the aircraft carrier, and it was the first service jet fighter to do that. Beady-eyed amongst you who have seen this aircraft before may well have noticed the new markings for this year. The left-hand side is painted in the colours of number 3 Squadron, and the right-hand side, number 72 Squadron. Both had been previous Vampire squadrons, both are still active today, with number 3 Squadron at Royal Air Force Coningsby and number 72 at Valley. '72 Squadron, now based at Royal Air Force Odeum as part of the Odeum wing, where Ken, I know, was very pleased to be able to display this aircraft as part of their family stay just a couple of weeks ago. It was Ken who was the brainchild behind setting up the historical squadron. Himself a very passionate, dedicated individual to support heritage education. Again, one of many, many people without whose help we just simply wouldn't be seeing these really important heritage aircraft in the country. It's founded back in 2008 and is based at Riga Air Base, just south of Oslo. The whole intention being not just to preserve and show, but also to promote and inspire, hopefully, youngsters of the future by learning more about the heritage interests of our own UK aviation history. It's got quite a little collection to play with. Alongside the FB.52, he has a 255 two-seater, a wonderful MiG-15, which we have seen here a few times, and a Canadian T-Bird. This particular aircraft was the export version of the Mark VI. 101 of those was built, 36 exported to Norway, and in use there from 1949 to 1957. Now you've got to bear in mind the de Havilland Goblin produced only 3,350 pounds of thrust, and compare that to the 40,000 pounds of thrust you're going to see in about an hour and a half's time from the Typhoon. Hence the large amount of airspace that this aircraft has to use, and the fact that, of course, that it was a first generation and doesn't have all the clever design, composites and computer aided facilities on board to push the boundaries. Nonetheless, Ken doing an absolutely outstanding job. This aircraft able to fly up to around about 540 miles an hour with a range in the region of 1,200 miles, able to climb up to 42,000 feet, and can also be armed in both fighter and bomber configuration with 4 20mm Hispano Mark V cannons, or 8 3-inch 60-pound rockets, or 2 500-pound bombs, which could occasionally, of course, the same hard points on the wings be used for drop tanks for long-range flying. The Vampire was exported to a huge number of different nations, operated across a whole range of theatres and climates. Different countries used it in different types, including through the Suez Canal crisis, the Malayan emergency and the Rhodesian Bush War. Following on from this, de Havilland also pursued the further development of the type with major derivatives, including the de Havilland 115, a dedicated dual-seat trainer, and the advanced de Havilland 112 Venom, a refined variant with a swept wing. The dulcet tones of Ken just coming up on the air to declare that this is going to be his last pass. So I suspect he may well put in a roll as he departs here, but nonetheless do give him the usual complimentary wave off as well. Having travelled a long way, he frequently leaves the aircraft in UK and then flies backwards and forwards commercially. It was a lovely topside pass, look at that. Really gorgeous. He just tips in to check you out on the beach there. Brilliant job. And there you may have just heard in the background on my monitor the wonderful accent from Ken there, just wishing everybody well. He's an absolutely superb top guy.